Hey guys, today we are getting into also we're gonna do a slightly, well, very different video. Um, I'm gonna talk about my experience with my IUD and talk about being afraid of going to the gynecologist while fat. So that's what we're talking about. If you don't like that, or if you're grossed out or by any of that, which is crazy to me because it's normal, don't watch. You saw the title. You know what's happening. We're gonna talk about period. We're gonna talk about lady parts. Lady parts, or just, yeah. Female anatomy, I guess. I don't know what you want to call it. So, yeah, I got my IUD, and I got the, what is it? Excuse my nails. I didn't get them done. Great. Liletta. That's the one I got. There's a couple like really popular ones, like Kylena is one of the big names. Sorry, my hair's driving me nuts. But yeah, this is just the one I got, I guess. I don't know. That's what my doctor used. I got it in June of 2019, and my scheduled removal is June 2024. So it does last about 5 years. And it wasn't even planned, me getting this, which is also why I am doing this video. Because if I was prepared, if I had information beforehand, my experience would have probably been a lot different. So initially, I made my appointment to go to the gynecologist because I've always had messed up periods. Always. Got my period when I was 12. And they've always been like super heavy, super crampy, super all over the place. So I was having like a bad one where I was just bleeding nonstop forever, like for months. And I'm like, I can't do this. We're approaching summer. I can't do it. And I'm someone, I never call a doctor. Like, if I call a doctor, you know something's wrong, and I'm worried. So I called a doctor, made an appointment, went in, and she's been trying to talk me into getting an IUD for years, and I didn't want to. I was afraid. I've been on the pill probably the longest. I started the pill, I think it's 16, to regulate my period. That kind of stopped working for me. I had the patch for, the birth control patch. I don't even know how long, but it was horrible. It was like gross. It was right here. You have to like remember putting it on, and it would like fall off in the shower, and like it was just a big no. So after that, I did get the Nexplanon implant in my arm. It was right down here. And that worked fine for a little while. But then I think it fucked with me mentally. Like my hormones were all over the place. Which can happen a lot with any of these. They all have hormones in them. Most of them. So they might mess with your mental. And it did. So I wanted it out. Took it out. Was on nothing for probably a year. I want to say a year. And then that happened. I'm bleeding. I can't do this. So I went in. She told me why don't we put this in finally? And I'm like, because I'm scared. She's like, you don't have any other options. We have the depot shot, but that will definitely make you gain weight. I don't need that. And also, I do have PCOS as well. So that always kind of fucks with the downstairs region. So I'm like, no, I don't want it. Like, it's scary. To me, it was scary. She's like, you don't have any other options, and if you don't do anything, you're at a very high risk for cancer. Endometrial cancer. Hey. Because your uterine lining has to shed. And if you don't have a period, that doesn't shed. It doesn't, do its thing. And it can build up in there, and it can, then it's a mass, and it can become cancerous. And I'm like, shit. I don't want that. Let's do it. She's like, okay, it'll take a few minutes to put in. It's gonna be uncomfortable. And I'm like, well, I'm already fucking uncomfortable being here. Let's do it. Whatever. I'm here. Fuck it. So we did it. Got undressed and shit. Her assistant, or like a nurse, came in. She was super nice, talking while I'm like half naked. She was super nice. The doctor comes in with I don't know what you call them, like a trainee. That's so dumb. I don't know what to call them. I'm so sorry. But somebody who is a new doctor, or like learning to become a doctor, one of those people. So I'm like, oh great, another person? Yay. But it was fine. We do it. She showed it to me. It looks like a little match. Like a match with little prongs on the end, and then like strings. And then it's right there. And it goes like right into your uterus. So they start, and it's already very uncomfortable. They started putting it in, and I wanted to scream. I didn't. I sucked it up. They were talking to me, and I'm like, it feels like super bad cramps. But then, on top of it, you know what else it felt like? You know when you have your period, and I know for a fact I am not the only one. When you have your period and you have cramps and you feel like you have to go to the bathroom, number 2, that's what it felt like. Like, I'm gonna shit on the fucking table. I didn't have to. And it didn't have, but that's the feeling I had down there. And they're putting it in, and it's so uncomfortable, and I'm like, they didn't tell me it was gonna hurt that bad. It went fairly quick, which was great. Done. I'm like, now it feels like I have cramps. She's like, well, we're gonna give you a little pad to put in your underwear, because you might, it'll bleed. Because we just fucked around in there. It's normal. I'm like, okay, cool. I get up, and it felt like, when you put a tampon in, or when you put your first tampon in ever, or still if you use them and you don't put it in quite right, and you feel it, and you're like, this shit is uncomfortable? That's what it was. I'm like, there's something stuck in me. I want it out. She's like, no, that's normal. We just messed around in your body, put something in that's not supposed to be there. It's gonna feel like that. I'm like, alright. Fine. I left, and I'm so glad my mom went with me because we had other plans. I could not have driven myself home. I got into the car and started crying. No joke. I could not have driven home. That's how bad it hurt. My mom's like, "Do you want to go anywhere else?" I'm like, "I need to go the fuck home. I'm gonna lose it." So we went home, and it was like oncoming pain and cramps and like literally like contractions. That's what they told me afterwards. Your uterus is contracting like if you were giving birth. Right? Nobody told me that beforehand. I was so scared. I'm like, something's wrong. I want it out. What the fuck? Oh my god. Went home crying. I like balled up in my bed. Like, I cannot. My mom called the doctor because I couldn't even talk at that point. They're like, "Oh, just tell her take an ibuprofen, and if it still hurts this bad, tomorrow come in." I have a tattoo appointment the next day. I can't do that. Like, that's all that was in my head. I'm like, hello. It's important. It was fine. Ibuprofen finally kicked in, you know. The next day was fine. And then it happened again. I was probably in pain and bleeding, I want to say, for at least a month and a half, 2 months. 2 months. And then then the pain kind of went away, but then I was still spotty bleeding. I went back. She wanted me back 4 weeks later to check and see if it was in the right spot, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, if you would have told me, nobody told me how fucking bad this was. I went home and Googled and went on YouTube, watched videos of girls saying, this fucking sucked. I felt a little better, and this is why I'm making this video. To tell you, if you do get this, it's gonna fucking hurt. You're gonna bleed. I didn't know that. So, I'm fine now. It's in there. It was in the perfect spot. They gave me like an ultrasound, but one that like goes inside you. The thing was this long. Everything was fine. It's in the perfect spot. I was still bleeding at that point, which made me uncomfortable being checked out, but they're used to that. As long as it wasn't like super heavy. They're like, it's perfect. You're good to go. If it still hurts, give it a couple weeks, call me. I'm like, it was fine. It was my brother's wedding in August. I was so worried about that it was gonna hurt or I was gonna bleed or whatever. I was good at that point, kind of. I wasn't in pain, but I was still bleeding a little bit. But it was fine. Now I'm fine. No problems. And you're supposed to, I guess, be able to feel the strings. I can't feel the strings, but I couldn't feel them before, and she said it's in the perfect spot. Probably because I have a fat vagina. TMI. But it's fucking real. There's a lot, like, I can't feel it in there. Like, that far. To feel the strings. So, I haven't had any pain. I still have, like, cramps here and there. But nothing like... And I also really never had a real period with it, which I guess is normal. I don't know. But I haven't had any problems for like a couple months. So, yeah. My health insurance did cover it. Thank God. Because I probably wouldn't have got it. Because I would have been pissed if I had to pay for this and I wasn't fucking paying like that. So yeah, just like talk to your doctor. If you're interested in this, just know it's gonna work. You just have to get through those months of pain and blood and sucking. But now it's fine. So that was my experience with the IUD. If I forgot anything, if you want to ask me in the comments or whatever, I will answer. That was just like what I could remember. And now I just want to talk to you real fast about going to the gynecologist while fat. Clearly, fat. And I was always super afraid of going. I think the first time I went was at 16, almost 17 maybe. And I didn't go every year since then. I probably missed a few. And I was always self-conscious, like, about that region. I kind of still am, if I'm honest. But it's a doctor. You're not going there to impress them. You're just not. Go to somebody who you're comfortable with. My doctor is actually really great. I don't say that about a lot of doctors, but she's actually really great. If you're comfortable more with a woman, find a woman. If you don't care, just find somebody you're comfortable with. Personally, I always had a woman. Just personal preference, I guess. I don't know. They don't care what you look like down there. They don't care what you look like anywhere. They're there to make sure you're healthy. And that's it. They don't care if you're fat, if your vagina's fat, if you're skinny, if whatever. They don't care if you have hair or not. You know what? They do care if you're clean, so make sure you're clean, you know. It doesn't matter. They're there to make sure you're healthy. And even if, who cares what they think? How often do you see them? Once a year? And if you don't like them, you switch doctors. Go, because it's so important that you're healthy overall, but really down there. Because even if you think the outside looks great or like healthy, you never know what's going on inside. And don't risk getting sick just because you're afraid, because you're fat. Just go to the gynecologist. I know it's scary. I still hate going. It's not a fun place. I don't want to be there. But it's important. And now I really have to stay on schedule because I have that thing. It's so important. Yeah, because things can happen. Especially if you have messed up periods or cycles. You know, whatever, same thing. But don't worry about it. You're a patient. They're there to help you just like they are. Somebody who's 150 pounds, 125 pounds. Whatever. They just care if you're healthy. So, stop being afraid. I hope you got something out of this video. If you have questions, ask me. Follow me on Instagram if you want to ask me there in a DM to be more private. That's great. I really thought this was important because if I had more information while I was going through this, I would have felt better. I wouldn't have been so scared. So, yeah. It sucks in the beginning, but now it's all good. So, yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. Go get checked out. Okay? I love you. Bye.